From runner to fighter, a brave girl and a soldier's unbreakable bond against all odds. Drop your feelings below. I want to know what this touched and where you're watching from. The crisp Havenwood air used to whip past Maya's face, a symphony of speed and freedom. The rhythmic thud-thud-thud of her sneakers on the track was her heartbeat, each stride a victory. She could almost taste the cheers of the crowd, a wave of sound that propelled her forward, faster, faster. Maya, you've got this. Sub-16, come on. Coach Miller's voice, gruff but encouraging, echoed in her memory. She'd been Havenwood High's rising star, the girl who was going to put their small town on the map. State championships, college scholarships, it had all seemed within reach. The memory faded, replaced by the sterile white of her bedroom ceiling. The only sound now was the hum of the air purifier, a constant, suffocating reminder of her confinement. Maya? Honey, are you awake? Her mom's voice, Sarah, soft and laced with a worry Maya couldn't bear to hear. Maya squeezed her eyes shut, pretending to sleep. She didn't want to see the pity in her mom's eyes, the forced cheerfulness that cracked around the edges. Just resting, Maya mumbled, her voice raspy. The mattress dipped as Sarah sat beside her. A gentle hand, the same shade of warm brown as Maya's own, stroked her hair. Except, Maya thought with a fresh wave of bitterness, her hair was no longer the thick, springy mass of curls it used to be. It was thin and patchy now, falling out in clumps after each round of chemo, leaving pale patches of scalp visible on her small, dark head. The once vibrant, athletic girl, her skin a rich, beautiful ebony, was now frail and pale, her frame almost swallowed by the oversized t-shirt she wore. The chemo had not only attacked the cancer, it had stolen her strength, her color, her very essence. It was a cruel irony. The medicine meant to save her was also making her disappear, piece by piece. Dr. Ramirez called, Sarah said, trying to sound upbeat. He said the latest scans show some improvement. A little shrinkage. Maya didn't respond. Shrinkage. It was a word that made her skin crawl. It wasn't a victory. It was a temporary reprieve. A stay of execution. That's good, Maya finally managed, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. It is good, Maya, Sarah insisted, her voice trembling slightly. You're fighting so hard. We're all so proud of you. Proud. The word felt like a cruel joke. Proud of what? Of lying in bed all day, too weak to even walk to the bathroom without assistance? Proud of the girl who used to sprint across finish lines, now reduced to a shadow of her former self? I'm tired, Mom, Maya whispered, turning her face to the wall. She felt the familiar sting of tears behind her eyelids, a constant companion these days. Sarah sighed, a sound that held a universe of unspoken pain. Okay, honey, I'll let you rest. The door clicked shut, and Maya was alone again. Alone with the silence, with the ghosts of her past, with the gnawing fear that whispered insidious doubts in her ear. She looked down at her legs. Once powerful and lean, now pale and thin beneath the covers. She tried to flex her calf muscle, the one that used to bulge with power after a hard workout. It barely twitched. Useless. She thought bitterly. Absolutely useless. She remembered the day it had all changed. The persistent ache in her knee that she dismissed as a training injury. The doctor's somber face as he delivered the news. Osteosarcoma. Bone cancer. We'll do everything we can, he'd said, his voice full of professional sympathy. But Maya had seen the flicker of doubt in his eyes. She'd seen the statistics. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Chloe, her best friend. Chloe, hey, thinking of you. Want to watch a movie later? We can order pizza. Maya stared at the message, a lump forming in her throat. She wanted to say yes. She desperately wanted to feel normal again, to laugh with Chloe, to forget about the cancer, even for a few hours. But the thought of facing her friends, of seeing their pity, their awkward attempts to act like nothing had changed, was too much. She typed a quick reply. Maya, can't. Feeling really sick today. Maybe another time. She deleted the maybe another time part twice before sending it. It felt like a lie. There might not be another time. She threw the phone onto the bed and curled up into a ball, burying her face in her pillow. The tears came then, hot and silent. A release of all the pent-up frustration, anger, and despair. She was a runner who couldn't run, a girl trapped in a body that was betraying her. And the finish line, once so clear, had vanished into the fog of an uncertain future. The sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Maya had wheeled herself to Havenwood Park, hoping the familiar sights and sounds of her childhood would offer some small comfort. The gentle rustling of leaves, the distant laughter of children playing, it was a stark contrast to the sterile silence of her room. She closed her eyes, trying to absorb the last rays of warmth, to pretend, just for a moment, that she was still the girl who could run like the wind. But the illusion was shattered by the rumble of approaching engines. Maya's heart clenched. She knew that sound. It was the sound of trouble. A group of older boys, swaggering and loud, swaggered into view. Razor, the leader, a sneer permanently etched on his face, spotted her first. His eyes, cold and calculating, raked over her. Taking in the wheelchair, the thin blanket draped over her legs, the telltale signs of her illness. Well, Razor drawled, nudging the boy next to him. Look what we have here, boys. Little Miss Speedy's taking a break from training, huh? Another boy, skinny and with a nervous twitch, snickered. Yeah, getting ready for the wheelchair Olympics, are we? Maya's breath hitched. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the shadows. She gripped the wheels of her chair, her knuckles white. Don't you have anything better to do? She whispered, her voice barely audible. It was a pathetic attempt at defiance, she knew, but it was all she could muster. Razor strolled closer, his shadow falling over her like a shroud. Better to do? Then what? Then entertain ourselves with a little, cripple? He spat the word out like venom. The other boys laughed, a chorus of cruel amusement that echoed through the park. Maya felt her cheeks burn with shame. She wanted to scream, to fight, but her body was frozen, a prisoner of fear and weakness. What's the matter, Speedy? Razor continued, leaning down, his face inches from hers. Cat got your tongue? Or are you just too tired from, existing? He reached out, his fingers brushing against the blanket on her lap. Maya flinched, recoiling as if he'd burned her. Don't touch me, she pleaded, her voice trembling. Or what? Razor mocked. You gonna roll away? Oh, wait, you can't even do that right, can you? The laughter intensified. Maya squeezed her eyes shut, tears pricking at the corners. Please, she thought desperately. Please, someone help me. A shadow fell across the group. A different kind of shadow, solid and steady. A voice, low and calm but laced with steel, cut through the jeering. Leave her alone. Maya's eyes snapped open. Standing between her and the bullies was a man, tall and broad-shouldered, his face weathered and lined, but his eyes, a startling shade of blue, were fixed on Razor with unwavering intensity. It was a look that spoke of experience, of hardship, of a quiet strength that needed no shouting to be felt. He was wearing a worn-out army jacket. He was like a wall, a very calm, very dangerous wall. This was Alex. Alex stood his ground, an unmoving barrier between Maya and the group of boys. He didn't raise his voice, didn't make any sudden movements. He simply held Razor's gaze, his blue eyes unwavering. What's this about? Razor asked, trying to sound defiant, but a flicker of uncertainty betrayed him. He shifted his weight, glancing at his friends, who were suddenly looking less amused and more apprehensive. You think it's funny? Alex asked, his voice low and even. Picking on someone who's clearly going through a tough time? You think that makes you tough? He paused, letting his words sink in. Why don't you all find something better to do with your time? Something that doesn't involve making a sick kid feel worse. The skinny boy from before shuffled his feet, looking down at the ground. Another one muttered something about just messing around. Razor, however, tried to maintain his facade of bravado. We weren't doing anything, he said, crossing his arms. Just having a little chat. A chat. Alex raised an eyebrow. Doesn't look like much of a chat to me. Looks like bullying. He took a step closer to Razor, not threateningly, but firmly. I've seen a lot of things in my time. And one thing I can't stand is seeing someone vulnerable being taken advantage of. Maya watched, mesmerized. She could feel the tension in the air, the shift in power. These boys, who had seemed so menacing just moments ago, now looked small and scared. Razor swallowed hard. We were just leaving, he mumbled, taking a step back. Good idea, Alex said, his gaze still fixed on Razor. And don't let me catch you near her again. The boys scattered, their earlier swagger replaced by a hasty retreat. Razor lingered for a moment, his face a mask of frustration and resentment. This ain't over, old man, he muttered, his voice low and spiteful. Mind your own business. Alex didn't reply. He simply watched them go, his presence a silent promise of protection. When they were gone, Alex turned to Maya. His expression softened, the hardness in his eyes replaced by a gentle concern. "You okay?" he asked. His voice much kinder now. Maya nodded, still trembling slightly. "Why, yes," she managed to say. "Thank you." He knelt down beside her wheelchair, bringing himself to her level. "My name's Alex," he said. "What's yours?" "Maya," she replied, her voice still shaky. "It's nice to meet you, Maya," Alex said, offering a small, reassuring smile. "Those boys, they won't bother you again. I promise you that." Maya looked up at him, her eyes wide and filled with a mixture of relief and gratitude. She'd felt so alone, so helpless. But this man, this stranger, had stepped in and defended her. He'd seen her, not as a victim, but as someone worth protecting. And for the first time in a long time, she felt a flicker of hope, a tiny spark in the darkness that had consumed her. It was a new feeling since the diagnosis, safety. Alex stayed with Maya in the park for a while, the tension slowly dissipating with the setting sun. He asked her about herself, not in a prying way, but with genuine interest. "So, Maya," he began, sitting on a nearby bench, careful to keep a comfortable distance, "what brings you to the park on a day like this?" Maya hesitated, looking down at her hands. I used to run here," she said softly. Before? Alex prompted gently. "Before I got sick," she whispered, the words barely audible. "I was a runner. On the track team." She looked up at him, a flicker of the old fire in her eyes, quickly extinguished by a wave of sadness. "Now, I can barely walk." Alex nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Cancer?" he asked, not as a question, but as a statement of shared understanding. Maya nodded. "Osteosarcoma." Alex leaned back, gazing out at the empty track. That's rough," he said quietly. "I know a thing or two about tough battles." "You do?" Maya asked, surprised. He gave a wry smile. "Yeah, I was in the army. Served 2 tours in Afghanistan." He tapped his temple lightly. "Came back with a few souvenirs. Not all of them are visible." Maya looked at him with new eyes. She'd seen the strength in him when he'd confronted the bullies, but now she saw something else. A vulnerability, a shared pain. "PTSD?" she asked, remembering a news report she'd seen once. Alex nodded. "Nightmares, flashbacks, the whole package. Some days are better than others." He paused. "It's like you're fighting a war inside your head, even when you're supposed to be safe." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. She understood that feeling all too well. The constant fear. The feeling of being trapped. The sense that your own body, your own mind, had become your enemy. It's like that for me too," she confessed. "With the cancer. It's always there. Even when I'm feeling okay. It's like a shadow, following me everywhere." Alex looked at her, his blue eyes filled with empathy. "Yeah," he said softly. "I get that." They sat in silence for a few minutes, a shared understanding passing between them. Two warriors, fighting different battles, but united by the common ground of pain and resilience. Just then, a woman in scrubs approached them, a warm smile on her face. "Maya, sweetie, there you are. Your mom was starting to worry." "Emily," Maya said, a genuine smile lighting up her face for the first time that day. "This is Nurse Emily," Maya explained to Alex. "She works at the hospital. She's like family." Emily extended a hand to Alex. "Nice to meet you. And thank you for looking out for Maya." "Just doing what anyone would do," Alex said, shaking her hand. "Not everyone would," Emily said, her smile fading slightly. She turned to Maya. "Honey, your mom's waiting. We should get you home." "Okay," Maya said, but she hesitated, looking back at Alex. Will you be here tomorrow?" Alex smiled. "I think I can arrange that." As Emily wheeled Maya away, she turned back to look at Alex again. He gave her a small wave, a silent promise of continued support. Emily, noticing the exchange, smiled knowingly. "He seems like a good man, Maya." "He is," Maya said, a warmth spreading through her chest. He understands." "Sometimes," Emily added softly as they walked away. "That is all that anyone truly needs." Then, after a small, comfortable pause, she continued. "I used to work with a little girl named Juniper. She had leukemia. Sweetest girl. With the brightest smile, but so very scared. She found comfort in drawing. She'd spend hours just coloring, making these fantastic worlds on paper. And she fought so hard, that now she's in college studying art. It can be done, Maya, even when it all feels so dark. Maya considered this, the thought of Juniper's vibrant drawings helping her, as she gripped her own small sketchbook tightly. Maybe Alex and Emily were right. Maybe she wasn't so alone after all. The next day, true to his word, Alex was waiting for Maya at the park. He brought a thermos of hot chocolate and a small, worn book. "Hey, Maya," he greeted her, his smile genuine. "How are you feeling today?" "Better," Maya replied, and she realized it was true. The encounter with the bullies, and then Alex's intervention, had left a strange mix of emotions, but underneath it all was a nascent sense of hope. "Good," Alex said, handing her the thermos. "Thought you might like this. It's my grandmother's recipe, supposed to cure anything." Maya took a sip, the warmth spreading through her. "It's good," she said, surprised. Alex chuckled. "Grandma's secrets are powerful stuff." He then held up the book. "And this? I thought you might enjoy it. It's a collection of short stories about overcoming obstacles." Maya took the book, her fingers tracing the worn cover. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to her. It showed that Alex saw her, not just as a sick girl in a wheelchair, but as a person with interests and dreams. Over the next few weeks, Alex became a regular part of Maya's life. He'd visit her at home, bringing small gifts, a set of colored pencils and a sketchbook, a CD of calming music, even a funny head he'd found at a thrift store. They'd talk for hours about everything and nothing. He'd listen patiently as she described her treatments, her fears, her frustrations. He never offered empty platitudes or false reassurances. He just listened, and that was enough. He also started helping her with gentle exercises, stretches and movements designed to regain some of her strength. He was careful, patient, always encouraging. One afternoon, as they were sitting in Maya's room, she confessed her deepest longing. "I miss it, Alex," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I miss running. I miss the feeling of flying." Alex looked at her, his eyes filled with understanding. "I know," he said. "It's like a part of you is missing, right?" Maya nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I used to dream about it," she said. "About running again. But now—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. "Now it feels impossible." Alex finished for her. Maya nodded again. Alex was silent for a moment, thinking. Then, he said, "Maya, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be hard, really hard. But I don't believe in impossible. I believe in taking things one step at a time." He paused, looking at her intently. "I'm here for you, Maya. Whatever you need. Whenever you need it. You're not in this alone. You've got me in your corner." He stressed it was her fight, not his, and that he'd be there to assist, not to take over. Maya looked at him, her heart swelling with a mixture of gratitude and a fragile, budding hope. "You really think?" "I really think," Alex said, his voice firm. "We'll start slow. We'll work together. And we'll get you back on that track. Maybe not running marathons, but moving. Feeling the ground beneath your feet again." A small smile touched Maya's lips. It was the first genuine smile Alex had seen from her in weeks. It was a small victory, a tiny spark of light in the darkness. But it was a start, and for the first time since her diagnosis, Maya allowed herself to believe, just maybe, that her dreams weren't dead. They were just waiting to be rediscovered. The following weeks were a testament to Maya's determination and Alex's unwavering support. They started small, with exercises in her room, then gradually moved to the hospital hallways. Maya, initially weak and unsteady, began to find a rhythm, a flicker of her former strength returning. One sunny afternoon, Alex arrived with a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Ready for an adventure?" he asked. Maya, surprised, looked up from her sketchbook. "What kind of adventure?" "The kind that involves fresh air and a familiar place," Alex replied, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. He wheeled her out of the hospital, and instead of heading towards her house, he turned towards Havenwood High. Maya's heart began to pound. "Alex, what are we doing?" she asked, a mixture of excitement and trepidation in her voice. "You said you missed the track," Alex said simply. "So, we're going to the track." When they arrived, the sight of the familiar red oval, the starting blocks, the worn lines of the lanes, hit Maya like a wave of emotion. Memories flooded back, the thrill of competition, the camaraderie of her teammates, the sheer joy of running. "I I don't know if I can, she whispered, her voice trembling. Alex stopped the wheelchair at the edge of the track. You don't have to run a marathon, Maya, he said gently. Just take one step. That's all it takes to start. He helped her out of the chair, his strong hands supporting her as she stood on shaky legs. The ground felt strangely solid beneath her feet, a sensation she hadn't experienced in months. Ready? Alex asked, his voice calm and reassuring. Maya took a deep breath, her heart pounding. Ready, she said, her voice barely a whisper. She took a step, then another. Her legs wobbled, but Alex's grip was firm. He walked beside her, matching her pace, his presence a constant source of strength. That's it, Maya, he encouraged. You're doing it. One step at a time. Slowly, painstakingly, they made their way around the track. Maya's breath came in ragged gasps. Her muscles burned, but she didn't stop. With each step, she felt a surge of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. After what seemed like an eternity, they reached the starting line again. Maya leaned heavily on Alex, exhausted but exhilarated. I did it, she said, tears streaming down her face. I actually did it. Alex smiled, his eyes shining with pride. You did, Maya. You absolutely did. He didn't push her to run. He knew that wasn't the point. The point was the trying, the overcoming of fear, the reclaiming of a part of herself she thought she'd lost forever. A few days later, to celebrate Maya's progress, Alex organized a small picnic in Havenwood Park. It wasn't a grand party, just Maya, Alex, Sarah, and David, sitting on a blanket under the shade of a large oak tree. This is nice, Maya said, looking around at the peaceful scene. It is, Sarah agreed, squeezing her daughter's hand. It's good to see you smiling again, honey. David nodded, his eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and relief. We're so proud of you, Maya, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Alex handed Maya a plate of sandwiches. To new beginnings, he said, raising his water bottle in a toast. To new beginnings, Maya echoed, her voice filled with a newfound strength and confidence. They ate and talked, sharing stories and laughter. It was a simple gathering, but it was perfect. It was a celebration of life, of resilience, and of the quiet victories that often mean the most. Maya knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew, with a certainty that warmed her from the inside out, that she wasn't alone. She had her family, she had Alex. And she had herself, a girl who had faced the darkness and found her way back to the light, one step at a time. And now after so long, she felt ready to begin again. The following months were a blur of doctor's appointments, physical therapy, and a slow, steady return to normalcy. With Alex's unwavering encouragement and Emily's expert care, Maya's health continued to improve. The scans came back cleaner, the blood test showed positive results, and the word remission began to be whispered, then spoken with increasing confidence. One morning, Dr. Ramirez delivered the news they'd all been praying for. Maya, he said, a broad smile on his face, you're officially in remission. The cancer is gone. Maya stared at him, stunned. She dared to hope, but to hear the words spoken aloud, it felt surreal. Tears welled up in her eyes, but this time, they were tears of joy. I don't know what to say, she stammered. Sarah hugged her tightly, her own tears flowing freely. You did it, honey, she whispered. You beat it. David, his voice choked with emotion, simply nodded, his hand resting on Maya's shoulder. Alex, who was standing by the window, turned and gave Maya a thumbs up, his eyes shining with pride. I told you, champ, he said softly. One step at a time. Returning to Havenwood High was daunting at first. Maya felt like a stranger in a familiar land. The hallways, the classrooms, the faces of her classmates, everything seemed different. She was different, but she wasn't alone. Alex had encouraged her to share her story, to use her experience to help others. And so she did. At a school assembly, Maya stood on the stage, her heart pounding, and told her story. She spoke about the fear, the pain, the despair. But she also spoke about the hope, the resilience, and the unexpected kindness she'd found in the most unlikely of places. I learned that we're all stronger than we think, she said, her voice clear and strong, and that even in the darkest of times, there's always light to be found. You just have to look for it. And sometimes, she added, glancing at Alex, who was standing at the back of the auditorium, that light comes in the form of a friend. The students listened in rapt silence. When she finished, The applause was deafening. Many were in tears. Maya realized then that her story wasn't just about her. It was about everyone who had ever faced adversity, everyone who had ever felt lost and alone. After the assembly, several students approached Maya, some sharing their own struggles, others simply thanking her for her courage. "You're an inspiration, Maya," one girl said, her eyes shining. "You made me realize I'm not alone," another confessed. Maya felt a warmth spread through her chest. She'd gone from being a victim to being a survivor, a source of strength for others. And Alex? He, too, had found a measure of peace. The nightmares still came sometimes, but they were less frequent, less intense. Helping Maya had given him a purpose beyond his own struggles. It had reminded him that even broken things, broken people, could be mended, could be made whole again. "You know, Maya," he said one afternoon as they were walking in the park, "you helped me as much as I helped you." Maya smiled. "We helped each other, Alex," she said. "We were a team." "A damn good team," Alex agreed, his eyes twinkling. He found himself volunteering at the local VA hospital, sharing his experiences with other veterans struggling with PTSD. He even started running again, not competitively, but for the sheer joy of it. He'd found that sharing his story and supporting others helped silence, if not fully banish, the ever-present demons. The story of Maya and Alex became a local legend in Havenwood, a testament to the power of human connection, of courage, and of hope. It was a reminder that even in the smallest of towns, and the unwavering belief in the strength of the human spirit, the ripple of their courage spread through the town, small acts of kindness becoming more prevalent, a quiet understanding blooming among the townfolk. They were, after all, not so different from one another. Years passed, and the bond between Maya and Alex remained as strong as ever. They were an unlikely pair, the former soldier and the young cancer survivor, but their shared experience had forged a connection that transcended age and circumstance. They became active in the Havenwood community, volunteering at the hospital, speaking at schools, and organizing fundraisers for cancer research. Maya, once shy and withdrawn, blossomed into a confident and articulate young woman, her voice carrying the weight of her experience and the power of her resilience. "Remember that time you could barely walk across the park?" Alex teased her one afternoon, as they were preparing for a charity run. Maya laughed, a bright, joyful sound. "Don't remind me. I thought my legs were going to give out. But you didn't give up," Alex said, his eyes filled with admiration. "You never gave up." "Neither did you," Maya replied, her gaze meeting his. "You were there every step of the way." "Well, someone had to make sure you didn't trip over your own feet," Alex joked, but his voice was gentle. They often found themselves sharing their story with others, offering hope and encouragement to those facing their own battles. "It's amazing, Alex," Maya said one evening as they were sitting on her porch, watching the sunset. "How many people have been touched by our story?" "It's not our story, Maya," Alex corrected gently. "It's your story. You're the one who fought the battle. I just helped you find your way." "But you did more than that," Maya insisted. "You showed me that I wasn't alone, that there was still good in the world, even when everything seemed so dark." Alex looked at her, his expression softening. "And you, Maya," he said, "you reminded me that there was still good in me, that I wasn't just a broken soldier, that I could still make a difference." Their story became a testament to the power of human connection, a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness could have a profound impact. It showed that vulnerability wasn't weakness, that sharing our struggles could be a source of strength, and that hope could blossom even in the most unlikely of places. It spread beyond Havenwood, reaching people through online articles and interviews. It changed people. "I read about you and Maya," a young veteran told Alex one day, his voice hesitant. I've been struggling with the nightmares, the anger." Alex put a hand on the young man's shoulder. "I know," he said. "I've been there. But you're not alone, and you can get through this." And Maya, speaking to a group of newly diagnosed cancer patients, said, "I know it's scary. I know it feels like your world has been turned upside down, but you are stronger than you think. And you don't have to go through this alone. There are people who care, people who will support you. Find them. Let them help you." Theirs was a story of shared battles, of mutual healing, and of the enduring power of the human spirit. It was a story that proved, time and time again, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope could prevail, kindness could conquer, and friendship could light the way. It wasn't just a story about surviving, it was a story about living, about embracing life's challenges and finding strength in the connections we forge along the way. And it all began with a frightened girl in a wheelchair, and a soldier who refused to let her face the darkness alone. The echoes of their courage, their resilience, continued. A constant reminder that even the smallest light can dispel the greatest shadows. And that's the story of how kindness and courage can change a life forever. What would you have done in this situation? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if it moved you, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button to join us for more inspiring stories.